Mitch will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. Everyone's here. First thing on our agenda is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or opposed, same sign. And then Matt Wyant is in a state plumbers, I think it's a plumbers meeting. So we are going to move item E in front of item D on the agenda. Okay? All right, scheduled sessions. Next up, we have John Rasmussen, the engineer, discussion decision to approve Eastern Hills Drive water main extension agreement with Council Bluffs Water Works.
Sure. So the Waterworks sent an updated agreement with the tap fees. Been reviewed by Matt Wilbur. I don't know if it made your packet. That kind of came late Friday. I have a clean copy if you need one.
It was in our packet, the agreement.
It came late Friday. I didn't put it on the agenda. I thought I missed the deadline, so
Oh, no.
I did send
was
it
in
Monday. Yeah.
there. You got any concerns? Looked good to me.
No,
I'm
no.
not a lawyer.
Matt reviewed it, and all we did is add on page 7, there's a tap fees there under 4 and H, I believe.
That's a 5-year tap fee.
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody taps on, they have to pay for part of the cost back to us.
Right.
Okay. I think we got an email from our legal counsel. They reviewed it and said it was ready to go.
I admitted my email this morning. I did talk to Matt, and he said it was good.
Yeah.
The only thing he didn't know what the tap fees, what were gonna be.
The tap fee was approximately 10%. It was 200 linear
That's what it
fee.
is, some sort of calculation.
Yeah, so it's gonna be 10% of our actual costs when it's all said and done, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Minimally 10%, I guess.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve this.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion for John? John, is that your recommendation that we sign it?
Yes.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That'll be put out for a bid then?
Yes, the Waterworks will bid it out.
Oh, they will?
They'll manage it, yeah.
Okay, I thought we had to do it, okay.
Is Lee Voss gonna be with us today? Does anybody know?
No.
I'll call her real quick. Maybe. Oh, I don't even remember hearing. Will you switch over 365?
Yeah.
Hi, Pam.
0365.
Let's move to C. Jeff, remember, where'd he go? No, I saw him here a minute ago. All right, well, how about a motion to adjourn?
No, we can't do that. We gotta stick it out.
She's not answering.
Here.
Yeah.
Garfield.
There's Garfield.
There's Garfield.
Some empty chairs up in front.
Yeah, come on up front.
Okay.
We're gonna move to.
You're up.
Oh, we're up.
Yeah.
We're gonna move to item C. Item C, Garfield Coleman, Risk Manager, Jeff Reamer. Kim's not coming, I take it.
She is not, she's under the weather.
Discussion and or decision to approve Potawatomi County 2022 insurance renewal. Garfield, you're up.
Yep, thanks, again, it's that time of the year for our annual renewal. We got some, medium news and some good news, and so, and then we're gonna cover some numbers here, so I'm gonna turn it over to Jeff. Let Jeff talk about it.
Absolutely. It's been, like Garfield said, thanks guys. I'm Jeff Brammer with Smith Davis Insurance. Reporting on property and casualty numbers this year. Of course, you've got a packet in front of you showing you what current numbers are and what the renewals are. As far as values, we had a little bit of a change in values. EDP, electronic data processing, got redefined with ICAP this year. EDP would be your computers and such, and we had quite a large value in that space, almost $6 million. We changed that to actual business personal property. So instead of computers being separate from personal property inside of a building, they got redefined to where we could just use business personal property. And we also lowered that rate to only include the EDP that was required for leases. So we have just shy of 1 million of printers and other things that we are leasing that we have to show those owners that we have coverage for. So it's only defined that way. Property, as you know, ICAP actually fared fairly well when it came to the ratio. The reinsurance treaty was such that it was very favorable to them. Only affected them $250,000 per occurrence, and that ratio that it went all the way across Iowa and affected a lot of the members except for Pottawatomie County. They only were exposed $250,000 total. Their reinsurance company now has wisened up and the rates have increased. That's why they have increased rates. So our property rate went from I believe it was 21 cents currently, and it was quite a bit less than that. It went up 27% there. The law enforcement liability, we also see a large increase there. That's because of a claim, and also just the state of where law enforcement is currently. We're just seeing that it's a harder risk to place. So 31% increase there. Our casualty total.
Are you talking national or are you talking
I'm
local?
talking national.
Yeah, okay.
I'm talking, things that are in the news. It's just that that's what we're dealing with. The increase in total casualty costs was 21%. Like I said, our property was 27%. So our overall contribution increase for the package was 23%. 23% is actually a good number. The ICAP is telling me that the majority of their members, the average is 25% increase. So we are below average there on our increase this year. One thing I did want to touch on that Garfield has asked me to is cyber liability. Our cyber liability, there is a change in our coverage this year. We have $2 million in cyber liability, but our breach is when somebody, of course, gets into our network, and it's whether it's the malware and it's the ransomware and those attacks. We used to have $1 million liability. Now they're only willing to go to $250,000. So our liability limit is greatly reduced there, and I think that is something that we should probably address. I have got a quote from another carrier because ICAP doesn't have the capacity, and by capacity I mean they go to a reinsurance company, and the reinsurance companies aren't willing to stick their neck out in that line of business.
So we have to buy a separate policy for that.
That is correct. That is correct. And being that it is kind of the wild, wild west when it comes to cyber liability, I think that's probably something we need to address with somebody that specializes in that. We do have some options there that I'd be willing to present and provide you guys some additional quotes for that type of coverage.
And one of the things that we will be doing is working with David and the new cyber liability, the cyber guy that we have here, to make sure that all the systems and the checks that he's doing, and we're gonna get together to make sure that we have the right numbers and the right coverage going forward. So it's gonna be a team collaborative effort once we start looking at these policies.
How soon would we know on that?
I think David said that his assessment should be coming out pretty soon.
Okay.
And based off of his assessment from the IT, then that gives us a direction of what type of policy we need,
So
what
soon.
limits. Soon, yes.
All right.
And that is very important that we have somebody that talks that language as well. It is specific, those firewalls and such need to be in place. There needs to be best practices because if we're not updating our software as fast as those, the bad guys, if you will, are coming up with ideas, we have an issue and they're not gonna price the premium or they're not gonna offer us coverage. That is the other, what I'm seeing in the market right now is if you're not using best practices, they're not willing to sell you a policy. So.
Okay.
So do you have figures on what the total cost is now, or with these changes, or do you just have it based on percentage right now?
Total cost of cyber, or what do we?
Cybersecurity.
No, I'm sorry, just the total cost of the insurance change.
Yes. Total cost of insurance is down there and total contributions paid, and then I have, it's third from the bottom in that box. Total contributions went from five.
Do you have any of those, folders you can provide me the
Yeah,
rest of the
sorry,
board?
we
Oh.
switched to Microsoft 365 and.
And I've got a couple extra, I
No,
apologize.
migration's not the best
Oh.
right now.
We scanned it in, we thought you'd seen that document,
No,
sorry.
well, I saw it on my computer, not this
I
thing.
brought a
Thanks.
couple folders, so just in case.
Yeah.
Down even.
Thank you.
Sorry if I
No,
had
it's-
it.
So, total contributions, like I said, in the second box, to the bottom, we've got ICAP, marketing and administration fees, and right below that's total contributions. 555,576 is our current, premium, and it's going to 685, 633. That is a 23% increase. Which leads me to the good news.
What's the good news?
The good news is our work comp.
So,
We have weathered the storm. If you turn to basically that last page in the packet, it's a bar chart. Our premium, our renewal premium is going to be $278,012. Our experience mod, which is outstanding, is 0.67, and that's down from our high in 2020, 2021 was a 1.16. That's terrific. We have never been at a 0.67. We've been as low as 0.70, but that just shows the safety culture that you guys are creating. And really Garfield and Jake, the hard work they're doing with training there. Garfield, do you want to talk a little bit about, what you guys have done there?
Well, sure, I think it all contributed to all the safety meetings that we do out of the jail and safety meetings we do in IT. We stop by and each department, we try to not isolate, but focus on each and every department to do their safety meetings and find out what's the major concerns, along with all the training that we've been doing in the county for the last 3 or 4 years. And I didn't only printed one, but I put it in the packet, but you can see that this county has completed over 6,500 online training courses. And plus, this doesn't count all the courses that we do on site. So all this is part of the contributing cost of doing that. And here's all the platforms that we use. Sorry, Jake has one.
thanks, Jake.
Yeah. So I think the main thing that focus on bringing those mod rates down, like I said, from the day one, it's the training, it's the policies and the behaviors within the county. And so I think all those three things are starting to merge together. And so that's why we're starting to see our mod rate go down. And the goal is to keep it down, so.
That's good.
It's fantastic. It truly is. It's one of the lowest rates that we have at Smith Davis as far as an experience mod. I have not seen much lower. So, way to go.
Good job.
It's the county, good job. I mean, it's not just Garfield, it's all the employees.
Anytime our money goes down, that's good.
It's a wonderful thing when I get emails from employees saying, hey, I need to complete my training online. I lost my password. That means I know they're engaged. That means they're doing what they're supposed to do, wearing this piece. So,
Jeff, let me make sure I get this right.
Yes, sir.
Overall, we went up in our property insurance, right?
Yes, up in the value, yes.
And
We went up.
in the cost as well.
That's correct.
And how much was that?
How much was the cost
46.
in property?
It went up 47,000, is that what it was?
It went up 57,000 in property. In property premium or contribution, as ICAP calls it. It went up 2.8 million in property value.
Okay, right, I see that number now, 58,000, but then, we went down and these numbers aren't matching up for me right
And
now.
it might not, we tried to, as far as the property goes, there are, additional line items that we tried to, just make this cleaner and easier for you guys to look at. This is the total values is correct.
Okay. I guess Garfield, for the sake of budgeting, we just need to total change, like the total number change, like what our total cost is to however we pay you.
Yep.
That'll help us figure out the budgeting number.
okay, yeah, I think that's the 960, right there on the bottom, the total,
6,000?
963,
Oh,
for 963.
That includes the work comp,
That's
which is
work
not-
comp and the property, so,
Right, but, so last year was 868.
right,
So basically, what I'm trying to get at is the total increase is 95,000
that's correct,
total dollars to us.
that's
Yes.
correct.
Okay, that helps.
Plus
Sorry.
plus the cybersecurity, whatever that comes up to.
Plus, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
We're looking
once we
at
do the
probably about 2
cybersecurity.
pennies would be my guess.
Cybersecurity,
Yes, sir.
back to that a little bit. You got any idea what those deductibles will look like on that?
We have the options. ICAP actually, it will participate in some of the deductible. If we come up with a cybersecurity policy that has, let's say, a $10,000 or a $25,000 deductible, ICAP could contribute to buying that deductible down to $10,000, like the rest of our deductibles. There is an option there that they can contribute and help us weather that higher deductible. And what I'm thinking initially, because we have looked initially to get that 1 million in cyber breach, it might cost us as much as $35,000 for just that policy.
So,
It's even with us hiring a cyber guy, huh?
Yeah. There are some, there's some of those carriers that will go to a third party and they will actually, the third party will do an audit. And if the audit looks good, we could see a large discount. But that's taking somebody that knows what they're doing and making sure that you have best practices. But like I said,
That's our IT.
correct. And what we're seeing in the IT space with cyber liability is doubling and tripling of premiums. Just because in 2001, the amount of increase in these attacks is skyrocketed.
so, on this current, form that you sent us, it's got cyber liability and then it's got cyber breach.
Correct.
And it says for liability, it's got 2 million. And then for cyber breach, it's got 250,000.
And that's down from $1 million is what it was
Okay.
last year, or currently.
And they, they're not gonna charge us anything to continue to have those then?
No, it's included.
That's included.
The 250,000,
Right.
it's included in there, yeah.
Okay. So can we use part of the breach, cyber breach for,
Yes, are you asking, the premium that you're paying for the cyber breach currently?
well, it's zero, but.
Well, it's very low.
So can it be used for part of the deductible for the other then?
It possibly could, yeah, it possibly could, but there's not much savings there. They're not charging you much and there's not much coverage there.
I don't know that there's that many people out there that are, I mean, I think it was probably 6 months or maybe a little longer than that. I told Garfield, I said, this cyber thing, these insurance companies, I mean, there was an article in, I believe the IT magazine or something that said they were bailing left and right at the insurance companies out there.
And that's
As far as insurance companies?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah.
There's even, I insure a few IT providers, and they're having a hard time finding professional liability for the work that they do. They make a mistake and leave you vulnerable, then what are you gonna look at? You're gonna look at your IT department. You're gonna look at your IT company, and they're having a hard time getting coverage.
So that's why it's a good deal that we have a cyber guy here in the county to help us check and challenge all the systems that we do have, and making sure that we don't have a breach, making sure we don't have any liability. So having that
Absolutely.
barrier in place, it helps quite a bit for the county.
Any other questions, concerns?
You know, I think it's important for us to explore that cybersecurity part of it. Part of me thinks that if somebody really wants to break into Potawatomi County's IT or their servers, right now they're smarter than all the software firms. How do you stop that?
We just don't want to be the low-hanging fruit. I think you want to make sure you have the best practices in place, and then if you can, with risk transfer some of that risk to the insurance company. And purchase a policy, that covers, some of it. Have the best practices in place that will notify you as soon as something happens, so you can shut things down.
Is there any other questions, discussion for either Jake, Garfield, or?
Yeah, I guess I just want to comment to our safety program, what you guys have been doing. I really appreciate it. I mean, it's obvious that it's working. Getting our mod rate down is significant. I mean, that's a big deal over the last 5 years. I mean, where we started, where we are today, I mean, we're doing pretty good. So, I mean, I think it's a tribute to what you guys are doing and the trainings you guys are putting on. So I thank you for that. Insurance is one of those things that, you got to have it. And unfortunately, sometimes it's expensive, but I think, given all the factors we have here, I think we're in pretty good shape as a county, so I appreciate your efforts there and, all of you for putting this together for us, so.
Thank you, Garfield.
I think it's a working dialogue along with the risk manager center, Jake and I, and the department heads, and thanks Justin for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but this mod rate is basically contributed to the 21, 22. Do you go on a calendar year on this?
No, it's I think July.
Yeah, July
July
of 2022 to 2023.
Yeah, 2021 to 2022. So this will renew in July.
Right,
With the new mod rate.
okay, but for the measuring, to get to this mod rate, it was what? the
July,
practice-
just July, correct.
Yeah.
And it's a trailing 3 years. If you notice that,
That's what I thought it was.
the May 1st of 17 event, and when that happened and those 3 spiked years, the experience mod follows you and it follows the 3 trailing years. So,
Okay, great. Thank Thank you all.
Yep, thank you guys.
Appreciate it.
That's well done. Thanks, everybody.
Yep, thank you.
I don't know, but I'll give you the motion.
All right, you're awesome.
Second.
Any other discussions with either Garfield or Jeff? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, I'm gonna move back up to item B.
Thanks, you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
For discussion, decision to approve tax suspension pursuant to Iowa Code 427.9 for property located at 100 Cambridge Circle, Council Bluffs. Lee, I think the only question the board had on that was the property owner notified, and are they aware that at some point in time, they're gonna have to pay those taxes? They have been notified?
Well, and I don't know if Jeanette did it, that's usually what Andrew did, but I can send it them
Okay.
and let them know.
Alright. You know, the Iowa code says that we shall do it, so we don't really have a choice here. I just wanna make sure that the individual requesting the suspension is fully aware that those taxes just don't go away. They're just suspended for a period of time.
I'll make,
Alright.
make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Are these the current taxes, or are they the ones coming due in March?
Their September taxes are paid.
Okay, so,
So they're current. They're current.
yeah, that's the one coming in March. Okay.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Lee, thank you very much for that.
Do you have, I have one question for you before you go, Lee. Do you have a list of all of these somewhere?
All of the suspensions, yes.
Okay.
Would you like them?
I'm just curious how much, I mean, I realize we get all this back someday, but I'm just curious how much we've suspended over the years. I'll come find you. It's no rush.
I'll have it to you within 3 minutes. No problem.
See you later.
Bye.
All right, we moved item E ahead of item D. So next up on the agenda, we have Al Wegman. And, discussion concerning the light on Highway 92. Al, you're up.
All righty, thank you. Last year, about this time of year, I got to talk to Scott. And since then, I've talked to Tim a little bit about priority of our light, our traffic light. The other trustees, and we're having a little disagreement on the priority. I just want to catch you up on what's been going on. Back in 2016, we came to the board here to convince the board about our importance of our light. And they agreed that we should get a traffic study. And so we got a traffic study. The traffic is very heavy in the morning, going westbound, and going eastbound in the afternoon, it's very heavy. And our problem is the traffic that's going eastbound. They're heading up this hill and they don't want to stop at the top of the hill for us to pull out, and they're delaying our response time somewhat. So, 2018, we requested a study and it came back. And this is a summary of the study. They
Just hand those around for you.
they agreed to us that something was needed. So we convinced you guys to get this traffic light. We turn it on when we get ready to leave the station. It stops traffic on Highway 92 and we can just go out about our business. Then it turns back to green after we're through. So we only stop the traffic as we need it. I know the neighbors there in the neighborhood, they wanted a different style of light. They wanted the light to help traffic flow in and out of the neighborhood. But the state, they didn't quite see it that way, which is fine. Now we're 3 years after that, And I know you guys have been looking for grant money to help with the payment, the offset of the light. And I don't know, 3 years, I think it's kind of generous, but anyway, in the meantime, I found out that our volunteers do other things than just answer rescue calls. They, well, every time a snowstorm comes up, they go out and put the chains on all the trucks. We have about 8 trucks out there that they put the chains on, just in case they're needed. And then another priority is after a storm, they go around and check the routes, and if the trees are down in the way, they clean them up. And that kind of saves you guys some time and some money. And also, the better we do as far as responding to calls, the insurance companies reward our constituents, your constituents. And right now, we're at 6 out of 10 positive points. And if we work on our response time, that will probably change. We've addressed some of the response times. We've hired a full-time EMT. That's Jake. He's there 8 o'clock every morning, weekday mornings, to answer calls. And that's been, this just recently happened last fall. We did a trial period a year before, so we know it works. It was just all volunteers. They'd all sign up on the list to contribute their time, and they would be there. And Jake was generous enough to sign that list more than the rest of them. But anyway, that period worked out. We found out that insurance would reimburse us for part of the calls. And you guys have also done some contributing to our response time. You put a light down on Highway 92, Eastern Hills Drive. That helps us turn left. And then the roundabout down there on East Greenview and Eastwood Lane, Eastwood Drive. And then you redid Highway 92 around our station from Wabash Avenue clear on down to the East Hills Drive. That's opened things up. They used to have a center line.
Was that a state project, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that helped some.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's kind of where we're at. October, we hired Jake full-time to work, like I say, weekdays. And he's been busy most days. I know there was one day I was down at the station, it was right after the new year. And it was about noon. And Jake says, well, I just finished my 3rd call for today. That's just one day. So he's been busy. Luckily today he's on call. But the people involved are everyone mainly north of Highway 92, because we have to leave our station and go east to anyone north of 92. And we cover part of Garner Township, which is south of Highway 6 and east of Council Bluffs. There's quite a bit of property there, quite a few homeowners. And it's actually Precinct Lewis 2 and part of Garner Township. And then we're down at Risen Sun Nursing Home quite often. That's also east of our station. And
Al, do you mind if I say something?
please do.
So, Again, my name is Jay Carterman. I'm the EMS Deputy Chief on Lewis Township. I started there full-time in October. This stoplight issue has been a serious safety concern for a long time. Every time we pull out onto the highway, inevitably it ends up that we basically just have to pull out in front of traffic to get them to stop. We have lights, we have sirens, we have electric horns, we have air horns, we have howlers that create a deeper bass tone so that if people are listening to music, they might actually feel the vibration of the tone. We've done everything we possibly can modifying our vehicles to make it safer. But our call volume increases exponentially. We go out more, we cross Highway 92 more, and there's only one eventual outcome. There's going to be a wreck there. Because we have to go to the call, and we can only sit at that intersection for 30, 40 seconds waiting for people to stop before we eventually just have to pull out and hope that they stop. Now, the only issue that we've foreseen is with semis coming from the east. When we pull out of our station, there is not enough notice for them to slow down and stop a 70,000-pound vehicle. We totally understand that. That's not an issue. That's nothing that we're complaining about. If a semi's coming by, we actually usually just hold off on even putting our lights and sirens on because we don't want them to have to make that split-second decision, slam on their brakes, and possibly cause another accident. So we're doing everything we can, but putting a stoplight there is the only thing that's going to ensure the safety of the public and our providers. Because we have to go to the calls. It delays us going to the calls, and it causes a significant safety issue when we actually respond to the calls.
What's the total cost of this traffic light?
It's part of that estimate.
Okay.
It's on the backside there.
15 to 30,000?
I think that's kind of high. Well, no, that's for the beacons. That's for the
Okay.
ones that, kind of warn
John, you've
them
got-
of the light.
More of that I read.
So you're basically looking at 300,000 at that light there.
Yeah.
You'd have your beacons that would trip when the light's about to turn red, it'll start flashing. So like if you ever go down Canesville, for example, like you're going to Fairway or something, same kind of setup that they have. And then you would have, my understanding is you guys would have control of that, right? Like you'd be able to flip the switch or push
We
something
would.
in your vehicle and.
We would have control of it, yes.
John, is there any funding through state or anything?
So that's where we started at. 16 was our first request, then 17, we conducted a traffic study. The DOT paid for a consultant. We did traffic counts and turning counts. We finished that in 17. 18, we applied for a traffic safety grant. We failed. 19, I applied for a different safety grant. That one was $350,000 was my estimate in 19, and we failed on that one. Our benefit cost ratio is just not competitive. There's not an accident history at that site that propels this thing forward, I guess.
That's what the state says.
Yeah, so it doesn't really hit the grant system very well.
I mean, I'm just gonna be honest, I grew up out that direction, you know, full disclosure, Al's son was one of my best friends growing up, and, you know, that whole area, I lived in Forest Glen with when I lived at my dad's place, and we'd come out onto 92, drive down Lewis Central in the morning, and while the accident history is probably not there, I can tell you that is absolutely probably one of the most dangerous intersections we have in this county, and I'll stand firm on that statement. You know, my daughter, I take her up the hill now to go to dance practice on, you know, Tuesdays. Same thing, you know, it is an incredibly dangerous intersection. So like if you come from the other side and you try to turn on a 92, you know, you're playing Frogger dodging the cars coming up the hill. I think we've just been incredibly lucky that we haven't had anyone get hurt, but I'm gonna tell you right now that the day we do, and I hope it's never, it's gonna be that, you know, I told you so. And this has been brought up multiple years in a row, and I said before, I'm 100% in support of this, and I do believe that we should have some involvement in this. I don't know what that looks like necessarily. It's super complicated. It's a state highway, it's in city limits, and it's a county issue. So, I mean, it's kind of, and a trustee issue, I guess you want to call it that. So I don't know what that partnership should look like, but I do believe that we should be a major partner in it. So, I mean, I'll tell you that. And, I don't know what right looks like there. You know, I'll tell you this too, the state never said a damn thing about Highway 370, and they finally did the studies down there like, oh my gosh, we gotta do something, you know, and here we are dealing with that one too. So it's hard for someone that sits in Des Moines or Atlantic or whatever other office that's not here, doesn't see that every day, to understand what this is about. You know, I do believe we should be partnering this somehow. I don't believe that we should be the ones operating and running it, but I think we need to find a way to.
Is the city willing to help with this?
I talked to them before, it'd make more sense because, I mean, they have a traffic room and they monitor lights already. I mean, they're already mobilized to do this sort of work, so if it were to be done, I would hope that they would, control it or maintain it for whomever, I guess. They're running that light to the further east on Eastern Hills Drive, that's, the city's controlling that light now.
I am in favor of the light, but how we get to that point is the next step, I guess.
Well, and I can tell you guys from a fire department perspective, the barrel of the gun that we're staring down is, we're at 636 calls this year, the most in the county. We are the busiest volunteer department in the county. We're taking steps. We've hired a full-time paramedic. We're in talks about hiring more staff. We're doing what we can. But if our ambulance gets wrecked with 3 of our responders in it, it will be crippling to us. In so many ways. We will be out one of our apparatus, we'll be out 3 to 4 of our responders. And that will devastate our response to provide fire and EMS protection to our district. So that's kind of where we're.
Well, yeah, God forbid we have a second call and, you already would probably have to rely on mutual aid at that point and your response times. I don't know.
Right.
It's me having a heart attack, I sure as hell hope that they don't have to deal about, worry about getting hit to come get me.
In 2016, I recommended they take out some trees there. If you're eastbound, you can't see the emergency vehicles until they get past the stop sign. So there's,
Yeah.
a lot of those drivers don't have time to respond, and it's gotta be the same thing for the people driving those emergency vehicles. They can't see eastbound until they get past the stop sign too, so.
I don't disagree with you, John, but I think if we had these lights, the trees would be a non-issue, so it's kind of.
We took them all out but one. There's still one tree, but
There's 3
it's,
trees there, there's 1 pine tree and then 2 that leaf out, but, if you go to Google Earth and just look up there,
pine tree is the biggest.
it's second
But I sure as
decision.
hell like driving by there and knowing that it nests right into the neighborhood next door too. I think there's some aesthetics that go along with, I just don't want the place to look like a little, I think they're proud of what they've got there and what they've been able to accomplish, and I don't think that cutting the trees down is really gonna solve the problem. Because on the other side of the road, there are no trees that are affecting that.
What's the rest of the board think?
What's your levy authority for Lewis Township Fire?
I am the chairman of the board, the board of trustees.
What kind of
No, your
levying powers, like you can tax the residents of Lewis Township.
We do tax them for 0.675. And that money is basically going to hire the full-time staff, maintain our equipment. And,
200,000.
That's, 6.75, is that the limit?
Yeah, that's the max.
And they're at the max?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe we need to talk to the legislature and see if they can bump that up to 10.
this light, it's
Super
budget.
it's kinda,
Your budget's around 200-some thousand, right?
I think they want 300,000, what they consider in their estimate. That's 3 years old, but,
But does that include the whole township budget, or just your budget?
it'd
The
be,
intake of the county township is right around 250,
Yeah. that's what
250 a year.
But the fire doesn't get all of that.
No, the fire doesn't get all of that. Lewis Township Fire actually we are a 501c3, so we work in conjunction with the Board of Trustees. We have EMS billing, we have
So
our,
I guess the next question is, do you have a capital campaign going on right now to help fund this? Have you done anything like that yet?
no, we don't, because to be completely honest, we have some pretty significant issues of our own that as far as staffing goes, that our capital has to be sort of dedicated to just being able to respond. During the daytime hours, 99% volunteer. I'm the only paid member. We don't have anyone that responds. I mean, we have to beg, borrow, and steal to get guys to leave work just to come drive me in the ambulance. So right now, we're trying to fix that issue by hiring another driver. Our biggest problem is that workers' comp is $58 per $100 of salary. So every time we want to pay somebody any decent salary, like a firefighter should get paid, we have to take a 60% hit on that and also pay that in workers' comp. So it's, it just complicates the issue more.
What's the city saying about this? Are they willing to put any in? Do you know, John?
I talked to them in 19 when I applied for that grant, because I wanted them to take over ownership, and they weren't very excited about taking ownership. They didn't have that light further east, so I don't know if that's changed for them or not.
So when you go out, Jake, for service calls, there's some that are insurable and then some calls that are not insurable, is that what I understood you saying?
Medical
As far as
calls.
like medical calls?
Yes.
So if we respond on a medical run and we transport someone, we can bill their insurance company for that transport. Now that gets into a whole can of beans about, you know, what we actually get paid per call and what we charge and everything. But for fire calls, if it has anything to do with fire, we do not charge anything because that's tax based.
But of these 636 calls, the percentage is probably pretty high that they're medical, aren't they?
Yeah, medical calls last year, we had right around 500. The other ones were canceled calls or weed fires, building fires, stuff like that.
So of the 500 calls, do you get pretty much all of them reimbursed or not?
We get about a 30% collection rate on our billing. So not very good, and that's mainly because a lot of the calls that we transport are Medicare based. And Medicare does not, no matter what you charge, Medicare just says, we're gonna pay you this much money.
You got
So,
billing service for that?
yes, we use Quick Med Claims
Okay.
out of Omaha.
So I got a question for John. So like, let's just hypothetically say we found the way to fund this and we put this thing in. I mean, the state's not gonna have any heartburn over this at all, are they? Based on the distance from their other stoplight to this one, or does that matter?
The city's managing those stoplights, so we'd have to work with the city on that. I'd probably recommend you guys that work something out with the city, like a 2080 agreement, have them maintain that.
So is your concept, this light's just not functioning at all unless there is a call? Or is it just like a functioning red light, like you'd see it at the other intersection?
It's dark when we're not answering a call. When we push our button, these lights will turn yellow for a while and then they turn red.
Okay.
By the time we get to the intersection, they should be red.
It seems like that would be the simplest way to go versus having an actual functioning, because I mean, that if you have an actual functioning traffic light there, one of the big complaints was, well, it's right at the top of the hill. If it's slick at all, we're gonna cause a whole bunch of issues west of the station.
I mean,
So the light down
I get
on,
it. It's
the one down on 27th and Broadway.
weird, we live in Iowa, there's winters, you know?
Yes.
That they control,
Right.
flashes yellow, it never used to do, but I don't know, the last 3 or 4 years, it flashes yellow all the time. The light does, and then I think when they activate, then it goes to red, and then it goes back to yellow. I don't know, that's just to keep everybody aware of there's something to be watching out for.
I
It's
think
flashing
the
yellow.
state is, they've got the beacons down the hill ways and up the hill away from the station. I think those are flashing all the time. Then when we signal, when we're ready to enter the highway, that's when we turn the light, big light red at our intersection.
Well, but I'm just saying, if they see that yellow light coming from both ways, I mean, it's gonna notify them that there's some reason that intersection's being
Yeah.
flashed with a yellow light. And
Yeah, to my understanding
Yellow
that
means, supposed to mean slow down, but.
to my understanding, it's
What
just,
does the yellow light mean?
it's not on.
Yes.
So that control, can you control both lights, Eastern Hills and?
We don't,
No, those are controlled by the city. We do have, in some of our trucks, we do have the system that controls the lights when we get closer with the GPS, just like Council Bluffs Fire has on their vehicles, but
Would that help you out any?
I mean, not in that intersection, because that would mean you'd have to install, you'd have to install a traffic light there for those to control it anyways.
that's why the city is hesitant about joining in, because the light will strictly be for us. And the city probably doesn't want anything to do with it. That's where the county comes in. It's our light,
Yeah, it's a state highway though, and,
Well, it's a checkerboard. I mean, we got state, county, city, it's all there, and it's a pain in the neck. But I mean, at some point, one of us just needs to be the bigger person and do it, and I think it should be us.
I think it's needed. How we get to that point is something we gotta figure out with our secondary roads engineer and the board here.
well, I'd like to put it in this coming year's budget, because we've been waiting several years for this light. And the situation is only getting worse, more complicated.
Do you think with that light, that'll raise your insurance mod? Is that the number?
Well, it'd certainly improve our response time.
It'll help everyone's, like, your home insurance.
Insurance.
Absolutely.
That's
Because
what I'm
now you
asking.
got a response time that's, I wouldn't say guaranteed, but it's more likely, so it'll
Because
lower
like-
that number.
Out of Crescent, we've got a good response time and it's lowered our insurances a lot. So that's a big deal.
You guys are on a highway too, right?
Yeah,
Not as
a
busy
lot of the
as
calls go out to I-29, I-680.
Yeah, not as busy as Highway 92, but,
Right.
Well, 2016, where my employer had a major fire and these guys, these were the first ones that were there and they're the first one, they handled the entire situation. They were the incident command and one of our employees of the county was actually the incident commander as part of this township, so. I mean, it's a big deal. They had a lot of capabilities and I just think that this is one. I mean, I could not imagine that particular day, and I'm telling you, we were down to seconds. And if something would have happened and they would have installed and would not be able to get there, my employer wouldn't exist. It would have burned down to the ground. I mean, our tanks were on fire, they got there, they responded, and if you delay that even 5 seconds, that could mean someone's life. So I don't know. I mean,
Sure matters when it's a family member and they're coming to pick them up. That's when it really matters.
we're about to add more homes in this area that they are about, we're working on that water line coming up, and these are areas that they respond to. Something like 200 homes. Granted, that helps your levy a little bit, but on the flip side, it's.
What are you thinking on this? What do you think?
Well, anything we can do there, I think is good. I was in Hancock one day, cause I live up there, and there was an accident in town. And I thought I'd be a nice guy and help direct traffic. People are just too stupid to slow down or stop.
That's probably the truth.
Eloquently
So the
put.
more lights we can get in there, the better it is.
Scott, would you and Brian take a look at this and see if we can work with the city and state and John and see if there's a way that this can get funded without the county owning the lights? That's something you guys take on?
I'd be happy to do that. See what we can do.
Okay.
We greatly appreciate it.
yeah, can we set some kind of a timeline? Because we were here 3 years ago, and that was kind of the remedy.
Will you get me the phone number?
Well, first of all, we need to know what the costs are, we need to know what little townships, how willing to kick in to take care of it. And we'll work with John, see if there's anything at the state level. I think they should get with the city and see if there's anything that they want to do to help us. Have you thought about is there any signs up there now that say, fire truck crossing ahead or
Well,
anything
we've
like
got
that?
one on going up the hill and one coming from the east going west. Something happened to it. And I've been talking to the state for 4 years trying to get that one replaced. But they still haven't done that. Yeah, they recommended the beacons as a bare minimum. But the beacons are just catch their eye, but that's not gonna stop the truck. That's not gonna give us confidence to pull out in front of them.
Well, there's a couple of options there, stoplight beacons, you guys take a look at that. And, not gonna hear, these guys can take care of that, and we'll have them give you an update.
Before we go any further, I mean, I get it, I just, why did you choose them, number one? Number two, like, we've been doing this since 2016, having these same conversations, exploring the same damn things. So, at some point, we need to stop saying, well, let's go look at it and do this. So, I mean,
Well, we don't have any traffic light engineers in our, in the county. John doesn't really wanna own traffic lights.
yeah, I don't think
It's a
any of us
state-
disagree on
It's
that.
a state highway. I mean, there's a lot of issues with this,
Great.
so.
Who's
I'm just wondering why you're.
who's our,
with you today, but
who's the legislator and the senator that's out in your area?
John
Shipley.
Jacobson.
John Jacobson.
And then-
Jacobson and Shipley.
And Shipley?
Jacobson actually told us that the money for this project had been approved at the state level, I think he said 2 years ago. And he was confused as to why it hadn't happened yet, cause he told us, he stops by our open houses and comes by and visits and stuff, and during a conversation with him, he told one of our trustees that the money, cause we said, well, we're having funding issues, you know, we can't find grants for it, we can't, you know, it's a hopscotch game in the middle of a trifecta of areas between the county, the state, and the city. And he said that the money had already been allocated and earmarked for it at the state level. And I didn't get any further than that, but it might be worth a conversation with him.
Yeah, I mean, if he told you the money's there, I would stay right after him and get it.
Right.
The money went to a fund that funds projects like these. It wasn't earmarked for your specific project.
Right.
And John talked to the point that they applied for it, they didn't get it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying the county should pay the bill, you know, the whole thing, but I do think we need to be a partner on this somehow. And I don't know what that looks like, but we should be. And I think it's gonna take us to push it across the finish line if we're gonna do it.
I don't know, normally, John, I know you haven't done any of these, but is the first step to get, some sort of approval or document from the state DOT for doing it?
I think the state DOT paid for the traffic study, so they should be aware, that should be in the format they wanna
That's
see.
part of the recommendation, the short-term and the long-term recommendation
This
is
came from them, from that study.
to move forward.
Yeah, so at 18, we pushed the full light set. I think if you're gonna go after this thing, I think you do push the full light set, just to get the risen sun people out onto 92. That intersection's so wide, that's a lot of the issue as well, because you have the turning lanes and the median and all that stuff. It takes a lot of time to get across that.
So time to get out of the quick shop, or the case.
Right, so 18, I went for the full light set, and 19, I just went for the beacons.
What you're saying is the DOT's already approved a light to go there then?
For the DOT, they just don't accept it, so they'll make either the city or the county or the fire department own that light set, so.
Right, but I mean.
We're just occupying their right of way. I don't think they'll have an issue. I think the city might, because we're gonna mess up their timing potentially, but I think we'd have to work that out with them.
My opinion on this report is they didn't want to tell the county how to spend their money. So they just said that it was suggested and recommended that we move forward with the light.
You have another one of those?
I gave one to John. This is our only copy.
I'll get it from John. I'll keep
Okay.
that.
They sent us 2 copies and I gave one to
Okay.
you guys.
Thanks.
Well, I guess, can I get a promise that we'll work on it
Well,
as soon as possible?
I think we should set a date and have you come back and see what we found out. We'll just put it on the calendar now.
Today's the 25th. Let's do the 8th. The 8th? of February.
Do you think you can get all?
I don't know. Let's see where we're at. I don't know. If there's
I
that
would
much
like
in
to get it
place,
in this coming year's
we
budget,
just need
if
to
possible.
connect the dots. See where the hell we're at.
And I will give you guys my card, so you can pass it down. If you need anything from the fire department, if you have questions, I think you probably have Al's contact information, but, I mean, I'm there Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, and if something needs to be done to get it pushed forward, I'm more than willing to help.
My cell phone number is 402-981-5335.
Okay, thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so bring it back on the 8th, is that what you're saying?
That's what I think.
Township has no other sources of revenue then, right?
Only taxes and then obviously what the fire department brings in for EMS billing. But like I said, the problem that we're running into is we are catapulting into call numbers.
Forgive me for not knowing this, I should know, but can you do a special assessment for a project? Like, are you able to?
So-
I guess we bond, but I mean, are they able to?
The only way that's actually somewhat like 7 ways to Kevin Bacon around this, if you will, is the state actually just approved a EMS service tax. Probably, I think they approved it 3 or 4 months ago. But it's right, but it's a special tax that I don't know if we qualify for it because I believe it is for an EMS only service. But they approved that at least you could do it where you could levy a new tax on the district to provide EMS service. So theoretically, if we were able to do that, then that would free up money for other projects. I mean, if it's a cost share that we're looking for, I can tell you that, we would be very open to negotiating a 5 or 10% cost share of the project just to say like, hey, we have skin in this game because it's our guys that are driving those rigs that could be splattered down the road. So,
I mean, it helps. And we do, like, we obviously look for a lot of one-time costs and things like that to partner on, and I think that a lot of foundations that are out there will do the same thing. So if they know, okay, the county's gonna back it, you'll get the foundation to jump on, and you guys have some skin in the game. I think that helps a lot.
sure.
I can tell you, John Shaven, he approached me about this as well, wanting to get a petition circulating around to come to the county, and he's already got efforts going there as well. So I mean, I think the support from this community is already there for this. It's just a matter of who should foot the bill and how, those things. So I don't wanna, no offense, don't take this the wrong way. I wanna hear from you every year, but I don't wanna have to wait another year for you to come back and say, hey, what's the deal? Are we doing this or not? Been doing this since 2016, and just like from day one, this damn thing was needed, so. So yeah, let's hopefully get some on February 8th.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming in.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, ready?
I'm ready.
Hey Jake, Mike Brownlee's gonna give you a call. Message me, asking for your information, so.
Matt Wyatt, Planning and Development, Pam Costrup, Acting Director, Planning and Development. Discussion decision to approve. Item A is the reappointment of Mike Henry to the Zoning Board of Adjustment for the term ending date of December 31, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion from you, Matt?
No, Mike's been a valuable member of the zoning board of adjustment, and I'm glad that he decided to stay on. So I really appreciate it.
Motion to approve.
I've got it from
Oh, sorry.
Scott and Brian. Hey, Justin, you do me a favor. Brian's a little under the weather. I'm a little under the weather. You want to swear Michael in for us?
I can. Do you have the paper to
Yeah.
do that?
I do. Mike, come on up.
Tim's gonna sign it though, his name's on it, I'm just a proxy.
You're just gonna
Come
swear.
right up here. Wait, come right up here. General, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you raise your right hand. I, Michael Generu,
I, Michael Genero,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of the Potawatomi County Zoning Board of Adjustment.
dis- discharge all of my duties to the best of my ability of the Potawatomi County Board of Adjustment,
According to the best of my ability as defined in Iowa Code,
to the best of my ability as defined in the Iowa Code,
Chapter 355,
Chapter 355,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Sorry, it's a tongue twister. Love you.
Congratulations. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Go ahead and sign one too.
it's an important deal.
Mike, we'll have you sign this one, Earl.
Come on up. You got to sign.
Recruit some more people.
Oh, yeah.
Just have you sign right there. Thanks, sir. Yep. Congratulations.
That didn't go anywhere yet.
Got more?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Next up, we have the appointment of Austin Kai, zoning board of adjustment with a term ending date of December 31, 2026. Are you Austin?
So moved.
I'll get it second.
Got Brian. Jeff, you do the honors on this one as well.
Yep.
You're Austin.
How many more are there?
One more after this.
Austin, come on up here. Okay, I'll slow this one down. You got a good memory, right? All right, raise your right hand. I, Austin Kai,
I, Austin Kai,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties
discharge all the duties
of the Potawatomi County Zoning Board of Adjustment
of the Potawatomi County Board of Zoning Adjustment
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability,
as defined in Iowa Code,
as defined in Iowa Code,
Chapter 355,
Chapter 355,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Chair will
Thanks,
sign it,
Austin.
so here, I'll have you sign this after him.
Can't contest this.
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate you. That's so much.
Next, our government work. Everybody stepping forward.
Where are you from, Austin?
I grew up between Underwood and Hancock, right in between where G30 and L66
Okay.
meet up there, and I
Okay.
live on 205th Street, just outside Council Bluffs now.
Oh, okay.
You said the right guy, right?
Okay,
Okay. You guys are related? Okay.
Yep. Unless we're in trouble. then I
Sorry
don't
for
know.
that. Thanks.
Congratulations. Thank you.
All right. I'll give these to you after, man.
Get one more?
Yeah. All right, now I'll entertain a
Yes,
motion
what are you?
to appoint Tyler Bruno to the Potawatomi County Appeal Board with a term ending date of December 31, 2026.
So moved.
Second. You gotta sit through all that for just
Just
this
a
quick
second, all in
thing.
favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same
Aye.
sign.
Aye.
I don't know, did we-
No, I mean, I was ayes
Pardon?
and supporting it, sorry.
Okay, you even vote on
Aye.
that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we'll raise your right hand. I, Tyler Bruno,
I, Tyler Bruno,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I'll support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all of the duties
discharge all of the duties
of the Potawatomi County Appeal Board
of the Potawatomi County Appeal Board
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
as defined in Potawatomi County, Iowa,
as defined in Potawatomi County, Iowa,
Chapter 10,
Chapter 10,
as now or hereafter
as now or hereafter
required by law.
required by law.
Congratulations. Thank you. Good to see you. I went to high school with Tyler, by the way.
He fared out a little better than me, I think.
Did you really graduate?
Justin, thanks for that.
Thanks for doing that, Tyler.
All right, and you know, you're welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting if you'd like.
Thanks, Tyler. Congrats.
Thanks.
All right, thanks for that.
Thanks, everyone.
everybody.
Really.
And next up, we have
Deal
Matt
for our
Wyatt
government.
and the recognition of Steve Pierce for his year serving on the zoning board of adjustment since 2009. Steve is not able to be with us today.
Correct. Steve isn't able to be with us today. He's currently with some health problems. But Steve told us right at the end of last year that he was going to step down from the zoning board of adjustment. He served 13 years on that board. And for those of you sitting up here who served on that board, you know that it's not an easy board to sit on, but it's definitely one of the most valuable boards to our department. He's really the checks and balance. That board is the checks and balances to a lot of the things that may or may not come out of my mouth when I'm talking to people. So the zoning board of adjustment gets to really decide whether or not I acted appropriately in situations and or grant variances and those parts to it. So there are points in times where those meetings are very contentious, and that board has to really sit back, take the people out of the situation, and do what is right based on the Potawatomi County Code and or potentially just the land situation that is involved in it and part of that. So Steve was always a really valuable member to that. You could always count on Steve being there, and there were points in times where Steve was a lot of the time where he would be that one no vote that came up in a situation, but you always knew where he was coming from on it. He was very knowledgeable on the Potawatomi County Code, even though he spent his life in agriculture and our codes don't affect what they do a lot. So he will be missed definitely, but we do hand out to those members, we get them each a little plaque like this, and we'll make sure that this gets delivered to Steve so that he has that, and just want to make sure that he knows we're very grateful for the service that he gave us.
Who replaced him?
Austin just did.
Oh, Austin did too.
Yep.
Okay, I served with Steve, gosh, I don't even know how long. How long did I do that? A long time.
You were on a long time.
Yeah, and that is Steve was a valued member of that board. Thank him for from us.
Very serious.
We definitely will.
All right.
Thank you.
Melvin, can you put down the presenter screen?
You bet.
I
can do that.
Okay, we up now again?
Matt, are you still, I think you're still, you are, Matt Wyatt, Melinda, are you Melinda Sorensen?
I am.
Awesome. Wellbeing Partners, presentation of Vivacity Workplace Wellness Initiative for Potawatomi County employers and residents. Matt, you're up.
So I appreciate you listening to us on our presentation for Vivacity. Throughout, kind of more towards this tail end of COVID, I've been asked a lot of different ways about what does Potawatomi County Public Health look like when COVID's over and we're kind of out of this stretch of pandemic response, and how does the health department interact with our residents, with our employers. And throughout that time, we had been working with the Wellbeing Partners and Melinda on just that, our very first public health initiative for Potawatomi County. We all know where we rank at with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundations. We were at 98th when we started. Last year when it came out, we're up to 90th already. We're looking for that piece that really jumps us up there and puts us in that top 50%, and hopefully even carries us higher than that. We set aggressive goals when we took over the health department. In the first 5 years, we wanted to get up around 50% of those health rankings. In the 10 years, then we wanted to be in the top 10%, because there's a lot of good things that goes on in Potawatomi County. There was just not that central area to help bring it together and lift it up. When we look at all the different work that health departments do, we can't do it without organizations like the Wellbeing Partners. The Wellbeing Partners were the first ones to come to us when 2016, 2017, when we said we're going to have a health department. They were Live Well Omaha at the time. They came over and engaged us. They were the ones who introduced us to Douglas County Health Department, Audie Poor, Sarpy Cass, Sarah Schramm, and they bring us three health departments together to keep us working together. They manage the community health needs assessment for our whole regional area. And just in a short time that we've been partners with them, I mean, we've really done amazing things, such as the Regional Health Council that meets and decides health priorities for the entire metro area. Vivacity, the community health needs assessment, has gotten way larger than what it was. We surveyed more people in Potawatomi County for the community health needs assessment than had ever been done in history. It was over 500 individuals we got information from. We covered every corner of the county. We didn't leave any section of it out. So we have a really good grip on that. That's really all thanks to Melinda and her team. And so I'm going to kick it over to her and let her start off with, give you a rundown of what Vivacity is.
Before she starts, Nick, so this scoring is done annually?
The Robert Wood Johnson Foundation?
Is it done every year?
No, it comes out every 3 years.
Every 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
And is it done by county level only? Is that what it's done by?
County level.
County level only.
County, and then it goes up through each state. Each state gets a county level breakdown
Okay,
of how
so
well you're doing.
our metro area, I guess, what are the other scores in that area, in our area?
So when you look across the river in Douglas County, they were in the top 50s, and Sarpy Cass is actually was even above that. I think they're in the 20s and 30s.
Okay.
So you get that good range of, there's your Sarpy Cass in the 20s and 30s. Or Douglas County is much larger, the 50s, and then it kind of comes across the river to us where things crash off.
So depending on where we're at in this Robert Woods ranking, does that open you up for different buckets of financial resources then?
Not necessarily. We've been focusing a lot of attention on trying to get grant funding, program funding from Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and it has not really helped us out, and that's really why I've pushed off. You know, we had gotten, it's almost like you're at the bottom of the barrel and people forget about you, so you got to kick and crawl your way out of it, which is what we're doing. And it's just, there's a lot of the education behind it to the residents and getting that information out there, because they basically are cold calling people, shooting emails out and have surveys done. That we want to make sure that leading out of this, everybody's well aware of Potawatomi County Public Health and what we're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi everyone, nice to see you. I'm Melinda Sorensen. I'm the Director of Workplace Wellbeing for the Wellbeing Partners. I said at the Board of Health meeting, I don't know what to do with my hands, so I feel like, sorry, this is kind of odd, but you can go ahead. So just to share more about the Wellbeing Partners, if you're not familiar, so Matt kind of mentioned, we were a merger between Live Well Omaha. It was really focused on elevating community health, and then Wellcome, the Wellness Council of the Midlands. So we do both of those things. So we build well-being into the way our communities and businesses grow. And then we do that through advocacy, a lot of our mental health stigma reduction work, collaboration and kind of partnerships all over the place, and then education. We do forums and have resources, and we also do an annual summit. Go ahead, please. So a couple of things, Matt alluded to many of this. Health is impacted by zip code more than any other factor. So then even looking at the workplace, productivity and turnover, kind of at the mercy of that as well, even when it comes to costs. And then we need strategies to assess and address social determinants of health and how they affect outcomes. Think about access to education, transportation, healthcare, mental health, those types of services. So it was a large partnership that we started, I guess, maybe 2 years ago that really landed into this particular Vivacity program. So with the health department, ourselves, Health Improvement Solutions was our partner for the assessment tool. Joe Lutzinger has been around kind of that health promotion area for many decades. And then UNO, our office is on that campus, so we partnered with some of their students and classrooms to help us with some of the mapping that you'll see. So we made a brand around this. We call it Vivacity, living in communities focused on well-being. And kind of breaking it down, the root word viva meaning life, long live, the inverted exclamation point, just to point it to a more inclusive, holistic, vibrant brand and program. And then the graphic, kind of think of it as a navigation piece. So you are here, you're going there. We really want to, throughout this, celebrate all of those different progress points too. Go ahead. So there's 4 steps to this process. So the first is to examine the community health needs assessment that Matt mentioned. So this is also conducted every 3 years. And then it really is a data, evidence-based assessment that looks at health status, behaviors, and what the top needs are for the residents in that area. Go ahead. The next step is to survey. So there's 2 surveys. There's one from the organizational point of view. So from that HR kind of benefit, what are your well-being offerings? What are the benefits that are being utilized the most? What are your employees citing as the things that they really need? And then also surveying the employees. So that could be all of the employees. It could be just a stratified representative example. We know a lot of other surveys go on, so we're not trying to add something. We're trying to make sure that it's going to a very specific population that we can also keep surveying so we can see if that progress is directly related to our interventions. And then what else this allows us to do is look at gaps between what the employer reported and what the employees reported so that we can really address those gaps too. So next is the review. So this is where the mapping came in. So we looked at the data set from the community health needs assessment, and then we look at the data set from the employer data. And then we compare those 2 and really look at where those overlap. And then even though we have priorities here and priorities here, these are kind of that Venn diagram, like the super priorities that we know are of, utmost importance to both the community and the workforce.
Can I ask a question right
Yeah,
there?
of course.
Where are you gonna get the information on the China kids?
On the what?
Isn't that what it is? CHNA? Children in Need of Assistance?
No, community health needs
Oh.
assessment.
I was like, I don't know.
Not
That
children in need of
data.
assistance.
You're
So
close.
it's close. One letter difference. It's very close. But the community health needs assessment, I'm 1 year in, so I'm not sure what that whole process looks like. If you can speak to what the collection is.
It's a huge conglomerate of funding that come into that community health needs assessment. All the area health systems pitch into it. Douglas County pitches into it. Sarpy-Cass, we do. All of the members that are part of this children's hospital is involved, and so it's but all of that comes through the central people, which is the Wellbeing Partners.
Did this come off of when we were trying to, and I can't remember what year that was, we were trying to become a blue zone back in, what year was that?
I remember hearing something about the blue zones, but no, this did not come off of that. This came off of, this originated out of us trying to think of a way to engage everybody in Potawatomi County more into public health. And we were, at the time, when it first started, we were like, well, what if we did like a best of, you're a best of public health employer for Potawatomi County or something. And the more that got worked around with the Wellbeing Partners, it really came out to this vivacity and taking stock of your employees' mental and physical well-being, not only in the workplace, but really where it matters is where you live. If your employees are having struggles at home and they, for us as a county, they could be all the way, somebody working here at the courthouse could be all the way in Avoca, and we may not know that there's a food desert out there, or that they don't have trails that they can get out there and exercise on easily, things like that. Then all of that's going to carry back with them to the workplace. And Melinda and I were just talking about this morning, and based on the conversation that we had last Thursday, where we talked about the raises for the employees, and that's a conversation going on in every company. I understand that, yes, some employees, we need to put some raises in there, but raises can't be the only answer to try to keep employees. And this new group of employees that are coming in, they're willing to not make as much to know that your employer cares about you And that, one of the things we talked about is if people are going out, you know, you have this employee in your office that goes out sick on surgery, there's companies out there that are coming together and they get dog walking for that person because they know that they got a dog. They send them over gift baskets to make sure that they're feeling better. They're making them know that that they care about them on that personal level to keep them here. And this new brand of employees that are coming in, they really want that kind of attention from their employer to make them feel like valued in that company. It's not necessarily all about constantly, well, every year I need a 10% raise or 6% raise, because we as companies know we can't afford that. We can't afford to constantly go down that road. But what we can do is we can invest in the wellness side, making sure that they're happier mentally and physically more while they're here. And that's really what I kind of see this going towards, is giving us, and I'm a horrible gift giver. And so that's what parts like this is, and I'm a horrible gift giver because I can't ever figure out what somebody wants. Well, this lays it out for you. This is what they want, this is what they need. Here are the simplest things to get you to that point.
Yeah, I'll add to that. So basically the last step is then to act and implement those solutions, but it is getting that employee feedback. It's not just, you know, the HR team or the leadership team or even the wellness council saying, okay, I think this is what they need. It's bringing everyone into that conversation and having really pointed specific things. And then essentially you go back to the beginning. So we still compare that CHNA data to the next level of surveys, and are we making progress in any of these spaces? And in the employee survey, it kind of lists out all of those general social determinants of health questions, plus their zip code. So we're also at the same time collecting tons of data about our community just through the workplace. And then two, just some images. We, after the Board of Health presentation last week, we went down to the clinic and had a presentation of this certificate of commitment, since they are engaging in this process actively and that they are a partner of this. So it's something that we want to have more and more employers engage in, nonprofits, any kind of organization that does want to prioritize this, to come to the table to help build not only the data pool for health promotion, but also start to build best practices and share these out with others too.
And as you saw in there, it gives you a little bit of a scale to show you, you know, this is where you're at as far as what you're doing. It can almost become that's what, you know, it's a little bit of a competitive thing that you could put out there and show, hey, we're a Vivacity member, this is where we rank at. You want to come work for us because we're going to take care of you as employees. And so this is really something, you know, next we're heading over to the City Council, Council Bluffs, and the mayor to present it to them. We're really hoping, you know, just individually organizations that the county will join on. We can get the city to join on. We want to get the other area employers to jump in on it too. We already have some interest from Methodist Health Systems after our Board of Health meeting. Because I really do see this as the future of what's going to be pushing through the public health department and raising up the awareness of these issues in the workplace. And then that's going to drive our workforce back in here to Council Bluffs and want to work in the Pot County.
Any other questions?
Today, just a presentation, you don't need anything from us, right?
No, yeah, we really want you to be aware. We are advocating to be involved and to invest and spread the word and kind of understand how to partner better, but no, nothing specific.
Where do people go? We contact you directly, but do you have,
Sure.
I'm assuming you have social media of this somewhere or websites or something?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's brand new. We literally just built this and kind of launched it about this month. So we're still kind of going through that and getting everyone engaged, but that is the next step, is on our website at least to start to have a very clear, here's Vivacity, here's who's involved. And that's where kind of some of those sponsor and investor opportunities are, to say Vivacity brought to you by, you know, these 5-10 partners that made their endorsement and made the pledge that they're investing in this. And then it'll go through really clear detail too of, here's how much it costs, here's how much time it's gonna take from HR, how much time you need for employees, you know, those types of expectations too.
Mitch, can you go through those 4 phases again?
So the first one is to take the community health needs assessment for our area. For us, you know, it's the city of Council Bluffs, Potawatomi County, and see what information that they can gather out of that's affecting our employees in those areas. And then the second part of it,
Get that information, Matt.
we have it and it's available on their website.
Yeah, that
You have it
report.
from the last time we went through the.
Correct. Yeah, we just did.
When's the next time we go through that?
We have it right on our website.
We just started the kickoff to our next one, maybe a month ago. but, it will be 2023,
2024.
2024.
Yep.
Yeah.
What? Go ahead, Scott.
So, back to the, excuse me, back to the first one. So you said Potawatomi County and Council Bluffs, are the school systems in there?
Gonna have to be.
The school systems themselves, they're not contributing partners to it, no, but the residents obviously go to go to the schools and are a part of it.
But the schools aren't part of the,
They're not at the table with us, no.
really?
They have 1,000 employees, man.
They are, I agree, they are big employers, yes, but it's everybody at the table for these are health-based people. The survey goes out to all the residents, and yes, they're engaged in all of those. They might be employees of the school, they might just be parents to the school system, and there's questions in there pertaining to that. But the school systems themselves, even Omaha schools and that are not at that table. It's, you're talking UNMC, CHI, Methodist. I mean, that's all care, One World, Charles Drew.
No Creighton, no UNO, no iWest.
Members of those staffs are at the table with us because they're a part of us as a well-being, but
Yeah, it is the health, like all health promotion, since it's the health needs assessment, it is like those partners that are driving it. But yeah, then there are lots of overlaps. But I do think it's an opportunity for us to say, hey, like promote this and kind of share this out. But I know even with the school systems, it's always kind of complicated of what they can engage in and those types of things. So it's worth more exploring, but that's why it has been this way in the past. And I'll send this to you. It's right on our website. There's the adult version. And then as he said with children's, they also have a pediatric version of the community health needs assessment that also goes on a 3-year term.
Okay, you want to move into, what's the timeline of this, man?
It kind of depends. I can answer that. It depends on kind of the expectations. So in this instance, with the survey itself, this is all built. So if someone were to raise their hand and say, we're ready now, we want to start the organizational survey, since that comes first, then I think it's about a 38 question survey. So it kind of depends on the bandwidth of the person completing the survey. They're also going to need some of that data, like the benefits and the demographics. So I think minimum, that would probably take at least 2 weeks to a month just to give that person space and time. But then we give that back to Health Improvement Solutions. They turn around pretty quickly within a week with that full report. And then with the employee survey, that's also ready. It's just a matter of determining who will be on that list. So if they need time to say, we have to figure out who we want to take it, how we want to stratify, how we want to get that representative sample, however much time that takes for the employer again. And then taking it, this is a much more brief survey. I think there's 5 general questions and then 12 that kind of go through that chart of the social determinants of health. So that's much quicker. So that could also, I would say, just to give the employees space, but not too much space, maybe another 2-3 weeks. And then again, we have that report. We're able to kind of overlay those, develop those. So minimum, I would say if someone was really ready, had cleared time for this, built resources in, 3 months, we could have the examination and the survey and the review ready. And then at that point, we're acting and setting those priorities for say the next 6 to 8 months before we go ahead and do the survey process again. So the idea is that it's a yearly process to see what that progress is.
What, Matt, maybe you can answer too, Melinda, but where's our last one we did, I mean, did they identify like what our biggest at-risk conditions were or things like that with it, or, I mean,
we
you give us a 90% score, great, what the hell does that mean? Like,
we did just the health department with the vivacity.
Okay.
The CHNA, by and large, was mental health, like all capital letters, exclamation point. That was kind of the one, and even for the children, sadly, and a lot of suicide concern. So those were, mental health were really the 2 primaries in the broad CHNA. But then for Pot County, the priorities, if you don't mind me sharing,
No, go ahead.
were physical activity. So just having opportunities to move and like the trails that he mentioned. Nutrition, so there was a lot of sugar intake and not a lot of healthy fruits and vegetables, and then mental health. So access and availability and an understanding of how to get these resources. So then we'll prioritize those three.
And just to kind of give you an example of how effective the well-being partners are. 2018, Community Health Needs Study Assessment comes out. We held a large group meeting. You know, we sat there with little voting machines. Mental health was off the charts for everybody's main concern on that. Well-being partners put together a partnership with the Public Good Project. We went out and fundraised around that. They raised about $2 million to fund that mental health stigma campaign. And even with COVID and everything going on, by the scale of it, we reduced mental health stigma 10% in the metro area. From where we were in 2018, Community Health Needs Assessment going out there, to where we came out last year, there was an actual 10.3% reduction in mental health stigma. And that all, and just the amount of funding and the programs that they were able to put together underneath of that, I mean, I look to see the same thing come out of our Vivacity.
That's another thing that we are trying to build is whether an employer is ready to engage in kind of this entire process, or if they do want to just prioritize emotional well-being or physical well-being, we also can use this tool to get parts of data to kind of aggregate into a broader data set. And then what we're doing too is really specifically aligning our programs, like What Makes Us, that campaign, to tie it to this. So do we know if someone was exposed to that campaign, did that make a difference versus just, I hope our programs are impacting this. So we're kind of tying it directly to our interventions too. And then, yeah, as we talked about the act, it's just what are those priorities and then what are some of those things? Again, it's not just our ideas, but it's also finding a way to engage those employees and then talk to other employers too. What are you doing? What's working? Implementing those things over, again, that next 6 to 8 months, and then seeing if there's any change.
Are there any, when we do these surveys and studies, are there things that are skewing our results significantly more than other communities, or do we know that?
I don't think so. What we've seen on, at least with the Community Health Needs Assessment, when, and we could, Bruce Lockwood is probably the biggest data guy that I've ever seen, the way that he can sit there and break it down. And he really goes in depth on there. And I think what he would tell you is that with the surveys that are being conducted, more than likely they're astonished by how honest people are on them. I mean, it's like it's their opportunity to really vent it out, and they use that to do it, and they really get some good, honest information to put in there.
We want it to be like that open door too. So even beyond that survey, we want those employers to indicate, hey, we're listening, we care. Not that it's going to be a like counseling type of invite at all, but we care. And then what are other ways that we can collect some of this feedback? But kind of taking this step is really that indication. If someone's maybe not close to their leadership or anything, this type of program and this type of investment, it signals that they really do care.
Well, I guess I'm being full disclosure where my questioning is going here. What can we do as a board to help this be successful? Like to ensure that it's successful so that it's not just an update once a year, that this is something that's actually happening.
So that's to me, one of the best things that comes out of this is that they give you the path forward. Here are suggestions. It's not just, here's the information from the surveys, we're checked out, we'll see you next year. It's, here's the information from the surveys, and then we re-reviewed what we have for HR, we re-reviewed what the employees are doing. These were the suggestions that we do, and then your wellness committee that you have has an actual path forward. And then it's not just everybody saying, well, I want to do a run out at Hitchcock, well, I want to do a weight loss challenge, well, I want to do this. Here are your actual suggestions to move your wellness forward and carry those activities out. So it's really just a follow-up then on, okay, where are we at on the activities that we got from that?
Sure. Is there something you need us to do right now? I guess would be the better question.
Really, the next step to start it off would just be for probably myself and Jana and Melinda to sit down.
So, Council Bluffs is the larger community, so are you presenting this to Council Bluffs then?
We are, yes, because the main goal of it would be is to get the city of Council Bluffs as its own entity to sign on to this. You know, Mayor Walsh has been out there a couple of different times now, on the different media streams, talking about, you know, let's hit public health at where we really need to with the social determinants of health. This gives them that right there. And let's start with the city of Council Bluffs as an organization. Let's look right down through that. I mean, I'm sure that, and they've also been on there talking about the struggles they've been having trying to get employees. Again, same struggles we're having, same struggles every employer's having, and we can't just continually raise the pay of the position up to try to get somebody to apply for it. Well, if we pay them even more, maybe we'll get some good candidates in. Let's just show them that if you come to work here, you're coming to work at a company that really cares about you at that physical and mental well-being place.
Linda, where's your funding come from?
So Vivacity specifically, or the Wellbeing Partners?
Either or both.
Sure, so the Wellbeing Partners, so since we have kind of those legacy organizations, Wellcome was a membership organization, so we have membership dues and sponsored dues. And then Live Well more so had fewer funders at higher levels, so we have that too. So we have membership, sponsorship, investment, and then we also secure grant funding. So like Sherwood Foundation is a big supporter of ours. I know we're trying to get connected with Iowa Western Foundation, so that's kind of be thinking if this is something you do believe and you want us to kind of have those funding opportunities, let us know, even above and beyond the employer space. But Vivacity specifically, we're funding this. Pottawatomie County was an investor to build this so that it's available to everyone. And then what we want to do too in the future is make it so that if an employer, and it kind of depends on, again, just how much exposure or tie you want to Vivacity. It ranges from $5,000 to $25,000 to invest just in this. But again, we're also finding ways if you just want to invest in like the emotional well-being, that's a much lower cost. So we're trying to make it accessible because we want to collect this data. But then what we see a future form of this is to kind of take the survey and then give the survey. So we can build a system of if there's a nonprofit that you want to take this, but they can't afford that type of level, we can find a way to kind of subsidize it through that cost so that we're offering this to many more entities.
And they did receive, Wellbeing Partners themselves did receive some ARP funding from Douglas County.
Yep, that as well. So that's another thing too to advocate.
Well, you've talked about when our health score comes in, some of the other things that affect it are obesity, kids on free and reduced lunch, homelessness, drug use. When do those come in?
So I would love to sit here and tell you as a health department, we could cover it all, but we can't. And so we have to try and look at the needles that we can move. And so not only is this a part of it, but the next, I signed on to be a member of the Safe Routes to Schools, because I want to bring Safe Routes to Schools to Council Bluffs, the Council Bluffs school system, and then even expand it out, because, I mean, if you look at Oakland, Iowa, the new Riverside High School, how does a kid safely walk out there if they have to walk from town to that school? How do they do it along a highway? So there is parts that we will try to do in those areas that we can, but the other organizations, that's where we partner with them to support them on their initiatives. You know, we partner with the homeless shelters to help them out where we can. We partner with the school systems to help them out where we can. These are initiatives that we run and we push from internally.
And then too, mental health is really at the core of so many of those too, and that's something we're really, really pushing, even as the Wellbeing Partners, in that direction. So with the campaign, we're trying to reduce the stigma to start talking about it. We're not, saying, talk about it at work, talk about it everywhere, but this also kind of gives that guidance, even the physical questions. Another thing we want to build in is, once this survey is complete, is there an algorithm that can kind of go through and say, they answered this way on these physical questions and these mental, they might need some support. So just immediately after that survey, we're now thinking, can we have some ready to go, like real-time resources for those types of things to kind of get that intervention? Because these types of surveys too, or even the Adverse Childhood Experiences survey, they can be very depressing. Like if you're going through something like this and you're like, ooh, it's an unsettling thing. So we also want to be right active with those things. But we do see, we'll have to kind of discuss how we could tie those types of progress measures, but we do think that mental health would support a lot of even the substance abuse issues too.
We as public health, we have to be a little bit careful as we work in through mental health pieces, because you have Suzanne Watson and her group out there. And even in 2018, when it was out of the community health needs assessment and mental health struggles were at the top of it, we held a big meeting between the area health directors and the area mental health directors, just to come and meet and greet, let them know that we're not trying to work our way into their space of what they're doing, but we're trying to be there to help elevate them and lift them up, because that's what public health does with all of these different initiatives. We're not necessarily in control of any of them, but we're there to help push them up and get awareness there of what's happening.
Another thing I'll add, not to belabor this too much and spend too much time on it, but even on our website, we have an entire mental health resource database available to anyone. A lot of the assets that we did build in this mental health stigma reduction campaign they're free to everybody. So I think one of the other kind of plans with this is even just, again, asking those questions and saying, hey, we're looking at this, allows someone to feel like someone else might care or might be able to help. So that alone, I should probably find some stats on this, but that type of impact for someone to think, oh, I guess, I could kind of look at this, and those tiny, tiny things are what are gonna, start someone on that path. And from an employer point of view, we all know that so many of our employees are struggling with so many of those things, and so many people are high functioning, so you might not know, but, having this conversation really adds that warmth and that vulnerability that people are going to need if they're gonna get that kind of help too.
Well, a lot of what happens in public health, we rely on you, Matt, and, obviously our staff, and, with the Wellness Committee, Jana, your involvement in all that happens here. I don't want us, as a board, to get accused of shrugging our shoulders and not caring, because I think we absolutely do, and we really would like to see these outcomes get much better. We don't like being in the 90th percentile. If you look at our program as a whole, we took this thing over a few years ago, really, it got much bigger. I know we've had some public health in the past through the county, but we do care, this board cares, and I know that we would like to see things get better. So we need to know what we can do to make that better, when the time is right for us to be involved and do those things. And I think, we fully support this effort. I would say I'm speaking on behalf of all of us right now, but we just need to know where our place is, because a lot of times we're just gonna say, look, we got Matt and his team and Maria and everyone else doing their things, and they're doing good work, and, we're often accused of not caring, and that's not really the truth. It's just that we got good people working for us to do it. So thank you for what you do, and keep us in the loop of what we can do to help you both accomplish that.
Thank you.
This is not, oh shoot, what do they call those? One of their initiatives at Iowa West at this point, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, initiatives, pillars, whatever.
Yeah, we haven't gone to Iowa West with it as an initiative for them. They are an organization that I do want to approach with this, because I think it would fit right in with what they wanted to be as an employer.
Well, I would guess them and the Lincoln Foundation both would be potential.
Yeah, I'm not done yet.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we want to get as many, like I said, we want to get as many employers in Potawatomi County involved as we can. Because it's only going to raise awareness of all of this across the county the more we can, and improve the workforce and drive more, hopefully bring more workforce people here, wanting to work here.
So Matt, I think we took the public health from the city, I think we were 98.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got it to 90.
Right.
So we're making strides in getting better in the short period of time we've had it.
Oh, and a pandemic, by the way.
Yeah, in a pandemic. So, and Justin hit the nail on the head. I think it's important to us too, but it's important for everybody to know, we've come a long way in that short period of time. And it's all due to you and Maria and your staff getting us there. So if anybody would like to make some comments or help us get a little bit further, I hope they're constructive when they make them. All right, is there any other questions for Matt or
I think you've done a good job. Thank you.
Linda?
We'll come back with a very pointed kind of pledge, act, those types of things for you all too. So thanks for that feedback.
All right.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
So where are you at?
When you going on the road,
Thank you.
to the city and stuff?
So we're meeting with the mayor and Ashley this Friday, and then we'll take it to the full city council at their next meeting.
Okay. I think you should go in front of the school board too.
Yeah, that'll be the goal.
We're using Sawyer and the health thing with young kids and stuff. It's top of mind right now.
Definitely.
Especially the mental health right now.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, we'll see
Thank you
you.
very much.
Okay. Next up, we have Jenna Lemrick, Director of Human Resources, and a discussion decision on a job description for a public relations manager. I just wanted you to know that she attached that to an email. So if you've been struggling to get your emails,
Yeah.
maybe she has a copy she can provide to you. If not, you can look at this one, because I do have it on my email.
Sorry, I did not bring copies, but someone can have my copy if they'd like.
I'll make
Okay, Justin's gonna make copies. Melvin, thanks. Sorry, I didn't think about your guys' emails, so.
It wasn't in our packet.
Are you
Are you sure?
able to get on and approve claims for Thea?
I just started yesterday.
You're getting on?
I came in
I'm sure you
yesterday
are.
morning and made him fix my deal.
I saw it in the packet yesterday.
I haven't heard her screaming in there, so apparently she's getting three
She
approvals
did enough.
from you.
It wasn't a part of the Dropbox. I don't know why. We'll get that figured out.
I don't know where I go for my, well, I guess I go there now for my emails.
Let's see, my recommendation.
When my wife got an iPad years ago, she asked my son how to run it. And he said, just keep poking it until it does what you want it to.
How does that work out?
Well, yeah, she got it going, okay, she did need a little help, but I've been poking that Outlook on my phone. It's just, it goes from one type of screen where I can't delete to another screen where I can delete.
You don't have our new emails.
I don't have the app on my phone. On my phone, I just go to
Got the email.
www.office and log in that way.
Well, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
that's how I do, just through the web browser.
I haven't had any trouble.
Well, I
Knock on
haven't
wood.
got my, of course, I haven't been here for 2 weeks, but I haven't got my desktop running yet.
And is yours virtual? Is your desktop virtual or no?
I suppose, yeah, I don't know. I went to that training yesterday.
What I'm looking at has
Have you been to that yet?
I went yesterday morning.
$13 an hour. Is that the right one?
No.
Well, she talked about Teams, she didn't talk about email.
Yeah, I was kind of looking for more of that and file sharing and such, but. No, when we had discussed it in the ROI committee as a intern, we discussed $15 an hour. But that's not at all what this
So
is.
we didn't get an email on it.
Oh, thanks, Justin.
You don't have the one that, for example, has the title Public Relations Manager with the bargaining unit grade of pay grade 20 or 530?
No.
Go over that whole
Not
thing.
from you. What?
Is that what you printed off for them, Justin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pay grade 530.
Yeah.
Public relations manager.
Yep. Yep.
Did I miss discussion, or you?
No, we were just talking about other things. And so Public Relations Manager, we had talked about this title a couple years ago, being Public Information Officer. That is a little confusing because David's title is Chief Information Officer, and so I thought that the title needed to be changed, as well as when we're talking about the leveling, I think Public Relations Manager made sense. The essential functions of this job are touching on communication strategies for the county, working closely with departments that may need their assistance. I know, the sheriff's office does a lot of their own things, so they may not always need the assistance of this employee, but they're always there to provide assistance if possible. The one I wanted to review with you, we had talked about this in 2020 when I had brought this to the board, but is serve as the primary resource for the information from the Potawatomi County Board of Supervisors. Facilitate county board's community visibility and engagement. So in 2020, when we had talked about this position, we had talked about that it is going to be a little bit of an extension of the board to maybe go to some of the smaller town meetings and things like that in your absence, gather information, take information back. And I wanted to make sure that that was still something that you wanted for this position. Of course, this position is for the county as a whole, but that's how they would really support the board.
So the only struggle that I see, I agree with everything on here, and I think that should be a function of theirs, but I'm curious to see how this goes, because it's like, we all have different priorities up here, and if something good happens and we want this person to get the message out there, that person works on a board of 5 people, but how do they, we shouldn't have to convene all 5 of us to tell this person to go do public information stuff.
Right.
So.
Right.
We just gotta be really clear what those boundaries are, like when there needs to be like this timeout, I gotta go talk to the board before I let this information out. So like, I don't know, maybe that's a discussion, it doesn't have to be on the job description, obviously, but I think that's something we need to be mindful of, because there will be information that is sensitive in nature that we need to make sure it gets released the right way, or, I'm just really curious how this pan out.
Yeah, and I definitely think that.
It's up here that this person's gotta
Well, I
work
think
for
all
it.
your department heads kind of struggle with that too.
Well, that's the other thing,
Yeah.
they're not, that's a huge one. Like,
Yeah.
department, this person doesn't work for IT.
Right.
I'm gonna be I'm saying that right now, being very clear about that, because while this person's getting information out there, there will be engagement that they have to make with IT to make sure that certain things happen on our network or whatever, but they don't work for them. And so there should not be any, in my eyes, although this person's reporting to you, in my eyes, this person should be equal to a department head as far as, the hierarchy goes and respect goes. To me, I want them to report to you because I want them to do their day-to-day, get their, typical things taken care of, time off, whatever. But at the end of the day, this person really reports to the board. I mean, this is the extension of the board. So I don't want department heads to think that they can trample on this person or just,
Yeah.
Or elected officials.
I don't think that would happen.
I don't think it'd happen, but I can see scenarios where we just gotta be really careful. But on the flip side, and I've told some of the board members this already, I truly feel that this is a position that you get what you pay for. And I think we need to have this person in the salary range, because we need to find someone that has some intestinal fortitude to be in front of cameras, to be able to speak on our behalf sometimes, and then to know when they need to not speak on our behalf and push it back to individuals or the board as a whole,
Yeah. And so I do think we're looking for someone that already has that kind of experience, because this is new. We don't have a whole department to support them, so to speak. So we do need someone that has some of that fortitude and those skills already. When I looked at market data, so your communications coordinator with the city of Council Bluffs, they're ranging from 75 to 96. That's annually, not hourly. 75 to 96, so that's right where we're at. You've got a public relations officer that works for the city of Ames, 71 to 105. Let's see, public information officer in Davenport, that's not quite a comparable, but they're 64 to 84. You've got public information officer for the state of Nebraska, but I couldn't get the full job description, and so that must be different because they have a level in 1, 2, and 3, and that pay range is way off compared to this. Public relations coordinator in Douglas County, however, that job was all they did was elections. That's all they did. And so theirs was 36 to 54 annually, but again, they focus on one little area. Elections is not little, but they did not do the gamut, which is what this person is going to do. So I don't think that was a comparable. You've got your marketing and PR coordinator for the 712 initiative that's in our backyard. They're 47 to 55 annually.
What's the city of council, what's Justin?
75 to 96 annually.
I'm just being honest, Ashley is their personal, and she does a fantastic job for the city, and I think that we need to target someone like her. I don't think we need to go try to steal the city's person, obviously, but I think we need to find someone with similar skill sets.
I think it's a needed position, I really do. When I was mayor, my wife and I spent a lot of time telling people what was happening in Crescent through our little newsletter and stuff and different events. People come to us and told us they knew more about what was happening in our little city then than they ever had. And since then, we've gone back to the old ways, and people have come to us and bitched that we don't know everything that's happening. And I think that's important for government, people to know what's happening in our government.
Yeah,
And with 5 board members, that's a fluid board and changes. It's like just buying the Crescent Ski Hills. We all seen that. It could have been handled different with the public relations, excuse me. And I think that could have really been a good outcome for that.
Yeah, I mean, this person would lead press conferences.
Correct.
Things like that. I mean, I think this
At
person
the board's
needs to be,
direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I think that person needs to be talked to.
Would they be able to help me when CNN shows up in 22?
And so if we look at the pay grade, where I'm recommending a pay grade 530, if you're curious about internal equity, what other jobs do we have here in the county that are in that pay grade 530? You have building inspector, your network administrator 2, risk manager, and cybersecurity analyst.
Well, I mean, I get that's because I think those roles are specialized, but I mean, I just want to reiterate again, in terms of respect, this person should be treated like a department head. And if they're not, then, we'll get different.
What about the small, well, since we've lost Andrew, our social media is pretty basic. Would they be able to help out with that also? As far as just posting stuff about upcoming elections?
Yeah, I didn't get to read everything in here yet.
I would think yes.
Okay, it wouldn't be great, but I think Jody kind of struggles with it.
Who does?
Jody, she can do some of it, but doesn't have the handle on it like Andrew did. So we kind of got a hole there in some of that outreach for upcoming elections.
I just think we need to forecast that. I mean, I do think this person should.
I mean, it wouldn't be a big deal,
No,
but it would be something,
I think
a
they're a
little more
resource
hands-on.
if you want them to be, if we're not gonna.
Rasmussen had, you guys had road closures and things like that, maybe he's already able to take care of it, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think there's a point at which it becomes the department head or the other elected official, like you are the auditor. At some point, if there's things that you need to answer, that person needs to be able to say, look, Melvin, this is on you. You need to go make these statements, or you need to do that with your deputy auditor or whatever. But I envision this person being a lot like what you see. I mean, what you see across the street in City Hall. I mean, it's going to be very similar to that. This person will get those tidbit informations from your Facebook that you guys are launching out and rebroadcast it again. When information needs to come into here, that's the point of contact that the newspapers are reaching out to.
And so after we, if this is approved and we hire someone, I would love it if they would allow them to maybe shadow across the street or, help out a little bit with training, so to speak, because again, this is the first that we've ever done of anything like this. So to partner with them in some of those aspects would be wonderful.
Well, I wanna also be very careful, because it did take the city some time to get the right person. And I just think if we can maybe get lessons learned from the city on things that didn't quite work out with the ones before.
Sure.
So we're not doing that. I don't wanna get someone in for a year and get them so burned out they leave, and we have to start this process over again. I think we need to make sure we get the right person, and hopefully we do. They're out there.
They need to be a motivator, a self-starter.
Absolutely.
Be able to think on their feet, think for themselves, look for something to do. I mean, that's something we can talk about when we get ready to hire someone. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
Well, they need to be able to push back on us too.
posting the position, that doesn't mean we have to hire.
I would hope that this individual will be able to tell the board, like, hey, here's what you ought to be saying, just give us some direction so that, because there will be times that any one of us will have to make statements on behalf of the board or whatever, and that person needs to be able to kind of coach a little bit to say, hey, be mindful of this or whatever.
Do you think we need coaching?
Yes. Yes, I do.
Okay.
Always do. I mean,
What's the
honestly,
pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve the job description as written.
I'll second it.
Did you want to post it?
Yes, let's post it immediately.
I do think so. I'll go along with you on that.
I don't know what kind of timeline you think we should, month?
We'll probably post it continuously and have it open-ended, without an end date, just so that we can see what kind of applicants that we're getting.
Shall we do a March 1st deal?
To keep it open till March 1st. We don't have to put an end date on it. We can, in NeoGov, it will be posted continuously.
Well, yeah, maybe just gauge, maybe just give us.
Until somebody's hired.
Gauge the kind of, people that are applying, give us kind of a oil check, I guess, if you will, and see.
Will
Yeah.
the board be able to view the applications?
If you want to, we can set you all up in NeoGov. You'll have to log into NeoGov to view those applications. We can absolutely do that, and I will work with the board on what the interviews are gonna look like, who's gonna be in there, what the interview questions will say.
Is that office next to you, kind of ideally where we put them?
That's what I'm thinking, yes. Mhm.
Is that
Okay.
technology all that we can do?
We'll have to order computers and such.
No, I mean okay.
And as we go, we'll decide what we start them at.
Yeah, I mean, we won't start them any less than 35.42 an hour, but, right, we will determine that once.
We might land someone that's just got top-notch experience that we want to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so, yeah,
I'm good with it.
You might want to come here because it's such a place of well-being.
yes, yes.
We should dust off some of the old applicants. Because we did have some good ones.
We did have it posted in 2020 and we had some applicants and then we, then we closed the position without hiring. Mhm.
Call for a vote?
But a motion to second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign. Entertain a motion, go in closed session.
Second?
Who made the motion, Scott?
Yeah, hold on though, I want to say this on public record real quick, that, I really truly appreciate the feedback that we've gotten from Potawatomi County, our department heads and our employees for this position, because this is a direct reflection of them. So I just want to say thank you to them on.
Okay, you got the motion in the second on that.
All right, Belt and Shay. Chairman Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisors Shay.
Aye.
Belt.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
And Goby.
Aye.